in the Sand at tuckercarlson.com. James O'Keefe's Line in the Sand premiering only on TCN on October 10th. You can sign up to watch at tuckercarlson.com. James O'Keefe's new documentary, Line in the Sand, at tuckercarlson.com. Welcome to the Tucker Carlson Show. We bring you stories that have not been showcased anywhere else. And they're not censored, of course, because we're not gatekeepers. We are honest brokers here to tell you what we think you need to know and do it honestly. Check out all of our content at tuckercarlson.com. Here's the episode. So you are roughly, you're younger than Kamala Harris, but in the same generation. You're an attorney. You're from San Francisco. You first ran into Kamala Harris in 2003, 21 years ago. You know everyone in her orbit. You live in the same world. And so with less than a month to go before the campaign, I thought it'd be interesting to hear the perspective of someone who actually knows a lot about Kamala Harris's life. Don't seem to be many of those. So thank you for doing this. Who is Kamala Harris exactly?
Well, you see the words comma, chameleon, and, nicknames like that applied to her today.
Yes.
And she really has been kind of a shapeshifter throughout her entire career and existence. I would call her in some ways a survivor. She's had a number of different environments, sort of growing up in Oakland to two university professors as a small kid. And then after a divorce, her mom took her and her sister Maya to Canada, where she went to high school and then started college there. Yeah. And then she, came as almost an adult to the United States and went to Howard University and sort of immersed herself in that culture of the predominantly black college. And then she came to San Francisco, where she went to Hastings in the Tenderloin area of San Francisco. So educationally, she's kind of traveled all over the United States.
But she spent her high school years in Canada.
Yeah, she spent her high school years in Canada and, not in San Francisco. And so I think one of the interesting things that I found when looking at her background is the first time she registered to vote was at age 29. So,
really?
Yeah. So many years after coming to the United States and during the year that she dated our former mayor and speaker, Willie Brown, is the year that she registered to vote. And so connecting the dots, it seems like that might be the time when she decided that politics is in her future because, she began to create a voting record and setting down roots at that time.
She hadn't registered to vote before she was
There's no record of her having registered to vote until she was almost 30, which is, I have nieces and nephews and I urge them to get educated and register to vote and get active. And so, it's kind of an important thing. So well after she became an attorney, well after she became a prosecutor, she hadn't registered to vote.
Well, that's interesting. 11 years after she was eligible.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's interesting, not because everyone has to vote, in my opinion, but because she's described herself repeatedly in public as a child activist.
Yeah.
She was basically leading the March on Washington. She single-handedly desegregated the American South.
Right.
She was always into politics.
She was a warrior for freedom. Early on. And
there wasn't, just for the record, there was no segregation.
Country. Her mom was interviewed many years ago before she passed away and tells a story about how where they were growing up in Montreal in the apartment complex where they lived. Apparently children weren't allowed to play outside. So Kamala Harris single-handedly protested this and organized and forced the apartment building to allow children to be able to play outdoors. So
she was annoying as a child.
She was a activist as a child, according to her mom, but then, didn't exercise the most basic form of United States citizen activism by exercising the franchise until much later in life. And
after she was a lawyer, how did she become a lawyer?
Well, she became a lawyer, went to UC Hastings in downtown San Francisco. Did not pass the bar the first time she took it, did pass it the second time around, and got her first job after that as a prosecutor in Alameda County. So in Alameda County, she eventually specialized in child sex crimes, an important job. And according to research that was done by some of her opposition when she ran for district attorney in 2003, she tried something like 8 cases that they can prove there during her 8 years or so as a prosecutor in Alameda County.
So I lack perspective on this. Is that a lot? A little?
It's very little.
Very little.
For somebody who's claimed today in all of her public appearances to have been a lifelong law enforcement officer and prosecutor, and when she ran for district attorney, claimed to have tried hundreds of cases. She actually, according to what I've been able to dig up and what her opposition dug up on her in 2003, which she never refuted, 2 cases in San Francisco during the 2 years that she worked at the DA's office before quitting and then planning her run against her boss, 8 in the Alameda County District Attorney's office. So she basically held those 2 jobs as a prosecutor. Now, Terrence Hallinan, let's setting the stage of my meeting her in San Francisco. So San Francisco had a very progressive prosecutor. I think he was elected in 1996 or so, named Terrence Hallinan.
Famous person in California.
Famous guy. He was one of some brothers. My departed husband served on the board of the Liberal Pacifica radio station with one of the other Hallinan brothers. So, they were kind of regulars in the left-wing activist circles in San Francisco. And Hallinan promised to be a progressive prosecutor, and he came on board and was a progressive prosecutor, would serve soup at the soup kitchens and things like that. Kind of old school liberal.